Welcome back to the show, everybody. Check out these headlines. And unfortunately, the SEC continues its terror amongst the crypto space, suing another crypto exchange. We're going to hear from John Deaton, Jeremy Hogan, Meta lawman Ryan Selkis, and David Schwartz, and you're going to want all of it. And by the way, CFTC and the Bank of England working together? You're going to want all that too. And how about this? XRP, $17 to $27? How about somebody roll that beautiful intro?
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You can follow us on Twitter and YouTube for exclusive content. Right now, it's $1.33 trillion market cap for crypto. Good morning. 1.9% up on the market in the last 24 hours. Bitcoin now back over 30,300 plus. We see Ethereum 2,100 plus, and that's 10.6 up on the 7-day for Ethereum. Tether right now, 81.041 plus billion for Tether market cap. Watching it closely. 52 cents for XRP at the moment. We're up 1.6 on the 24-hour. Careful what you call progress. If you haven't checked it out, check out my sponsor, I Trust Capital here. You can invest in crypto, gold, silver using your IRA. That's right. The only thing better than buying crypto at my house is buying tax-free crypto. And it's exactly what I can do with iTrust and their IRAs. And remember, as a retail investor, you can't find institutional custody, but you can here. That's the beauty of this. They're completely compliant. You don't have the issues you do with other exchanges in normal business. This is a crypto IRA, highly compliant. Roll your 401k, 403b, 457 into it. And you know what? It's tax-free crypto, baby. Yeah, that's what I love about it. Click the link underneath the video. Well, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. More to the point here today. The terror sweeping from Gary Gensler's SEC continues. It is right now Gary Gensler's post from 22 hours ago. Today, we charge crypto asset trading platform Bittrex and its co-founders and former CEO William Shahara for operating an unregistered national securities exchange, broker, and clearing agency. And Gary Gensler says as he retweets today's actions yet again makes plain that the crypto markets suffer from a lack of regulatory compliance, not a lack of regulatory clarity. I tell you, the gall, the unmitigated gall of this guy to come out and say this is just despicable when you have someone like Hester Peirce inside the agency really ringing the bell and sounding the alarm that there is not clarity, as he suggests in this. And we all know what the drill is. If you go in to see them looking for clarity, they sue you anyway. It is just unbelievable. However, there is a meeting today where Gary Gensler will be called to carpet. We'll see what comes of that. But listen to this.
Okay, later this morning, the Financial Services Committee is going to be grilling SEC Chairman Gary Gensler on documents they're looking for related to charges filed against former FTX CEO Sam Bankman-Fried. Joining us right now with a preview, Financial Services Committee Chairman Patrick McHenry. Good morning to you. What are you looking for? What are you hoping to get out of today's session?
Well, first, I think we want to expose the rapid and aggressive regulatory agenda that Gary Gensler has with 53 major rulemakings by this agency that cost that the market has to bear and the economy has to bear for this in a really competitive world. And the lack of clarity at the same time that he's
what do you mean by that?
With the digital asset ecosystem. What I mean by that, if you have his two previous predecessors as chair of the SEC did half that number of rulemaking. There's a massive amount of change that this chair is trying to drive, and it has a lot of expense in the markets, and he's giving a limited amount of time for actually good comment. So we're going to have shoddy rules that are very expensive on a market at a time where the rest of the world wants to take our capital markets. I don't think it's a smart agenda, and I think it's really important that we expose that. And at the same time, he hasn't provided any sense of some way to operate for digital assets. assets, so they're going overseas, and we're losing competition. We've got a lot of competition in Asia and in Europe around a regulatory regime that is sensible, and we have no regulatory regime. So those are the things I want to expose this morning. I think they're very important for the American economy.
And it really is. But I'll tell you, we'll see, because it has been a lack of action. And the only thing we've seen thus far from Congress is a bunch of tweets on Twitter. So that should scare us just as much as Gary Gensler's actions, I believe. Right? But let's get back to this, because it is important that we take a look at this. David Schwartz says here, SEC claims buyers of Dash, Algo, OMG, TKN, NGC, and IHT have a reasonable expectation of profit. Sounds like investment advice to me. You know, it really does. It sounds like that's investment advice, doesn't it? From the SEC, rather. John Deaton comments on what's going on here as he shares Mike Dudas right here, who really goes after him. And if you don't know, Mike Dudas, investor, been in the space a long time. But nevertheless, Silvio Micali's Algorand is a Turing Award winner at MIT. You will hear Gary Gensler, when he was at MIT, celebrating it and how he worked with them. Take a listen to this. You can't make it up.
Governance is tough. You could create Uber or Lyft on top of a blockchain technology today. Well, maybe in 5 years you could. It would have the performance. Silvio Micali's Algorand, who's a Turing Award winner at MIT that I work with. Silvio's got a great technology that has the performance. You could create Uber on top of it.
I mean, that's despicable. This is the person who's now suing them and the exchanges and claiming that they're a security. It's despicable. John Deaton says, sitting here fantasizing about the putative class of investors who purchased an unregistered security because they were persuaded by a former CFTC chairman, which is, in fact, Gary Gensler, who happened to also be the professor at MIT, Gary Gensler. But then the reality sets in, because to make the case, I need to argue it's a security. But yet he says there's no lack of clarity. This man is a despicable human being as far as I'm concerned. Meta Lawman says here, when it comes to the Bittrex case, he said he just read the 56-page complaint. He said, one thing that has me puzzled about the Bittrex exchange case, if Bittrex and its founders are being sued because they allowed trading alleged security algo, then why isn't the SEC also suing Gary Gensler's buddy, Silvio Micali, that he was just talking about celebrating in the video at MIT, offering and selling algo tokens in the first place? I can think of a couple guys over at Ripple who might be curious to understand that logic. It is true. Now, Jeremy Hogan sets it out here, and this is the letter here from Bittrex where they're disappointed about what has taken place with the SEC. They go on to say, if you look inside of this letter, you will see that we asked them, and he's got it commented here. He said, on multiple occasions, we Bittrex asked them, the SEC, to tell us what digital assets they viewed as securities. They refused to do so. So the SEC let Bittrex sell unregistered securities for years, and we're still supposed to believe it's about investor protection. This is where I always lean in and say this is regulatory capture, I believe, and it is working to suppress the current market and infrastructure that exists so that the legacy firms can come in and buy up this space pennies on a dollar, because this says it right here. If the SEC believed that years ago, they should have done something about it years ago. It should be a no action letter at this point. Jeremy Hogan goes on to say in the lieu of the SEC announcing that they were charging Bittrex over securities issues, it says here, he says, the SEC is hoping for a quick rollover from Bittrex. Here's the plan. An easy made case authority that the 6 tokens are securities, that's the game. The counter move is for Algorand Foundation and the other 5 projects to intervene in the lawsuit under Rule 24, fight together. He goes on to say, if projects won't fight voluntarily, Bittrex should move to bring them in against their will with a motion to dismiss for failure to add indispensable party, Rule 19, and force the SEC to bring them in. The exchanges and projects have to fight together or die apart. He goes on here to say, basically, Don't they have to prove the tokens involved are securities first? Jeremy Hogan says yes. And how can Bittrex argue successfully that algo or another token is not a security? It can't. That's the game. It's like suing me and alleging you're a bad guy. How can I argue that? I need you to come in and fight that battle with me. See, that's the problem, and that's the kind of dirty, underhanded business that's taking place at the SEC that doesn't speak to investor protection, but it speaks to something else, which suggests to me it should be an investigation about regulatory capture of the SEC and Gary Gensler. And even former chairman, to be honest with you. Ryan Selkis chimes into this. You are shameless, talking to Gary Gensler, shameless embarrassment to the country who celebrates undermining his own agency's mandates and puts craven personal aspirations above protecting investors and pushing the country forward. 2 years closer to the end of your political career, that's worth celebrating. But we shouldn't have to wait for 2 years. Congress can do something today. That's the disappointing part. Because the fight gets even deeper. Remember, he's going after DeFi too, and unless Congress legislates otherwise, U.S. oversight will hold most of the crypto world in the SEC's jurisdiction as the agency moves to make its reach increasingly explicit, and this includes DeFi. That's what's happening. You know, DeFi, decentralization. Governments are telling us the theme is really, the narrative rather, is there is going to be no such thing as far as they're concerned. And this is exactly what happens here. Raoul Pal says something I've been saying. The U.S.'s loss will be the U.K.'s gain. It has always been thus in financial markets. And here's Brian Armstrong standing right there yesterday with the U.K. Economic Secretary and City Minister. The U.K. is moving fast on sensible crypto regulation to both drive economic growth and consumer protection. Excited to keep investing in the U.K. There it is. And there's your result if you keep on. Everyone's going to look for another region to move to, isn't it? Now let's take a look at this, because this gets interesting. The CFTC here in the United States and the Bank of England announced a joint statement on the supervision of this. CCPs, cross-border central counterparties payments is what we're talking about, ladies and gentlemen. This is really, really intriguing to me, okay? When you look at this, basically, let me go through this very quickly. The bank and the CFTC have a long-standing relationship of cooperation and mutual understanding with respect to supervision and oversight of cross-border central counterparties, that's CCPs, and recognize that the importance and deference in regulation and supervision where appropriate. The deferential approach is in line with the G20 commitments made in St. Petersburg in 2013 and reduces the regulatory or risk of regulatory duplication while preserving the benefits of cross-border clearing and activity. So I should say payments, I should say settlement, right? So bank and CFTC are committed to maintaining a robust and effective relationship of cooperation and information sharing. Goes from the 2020 MOU, Memorandum of Understanding here, and basically talking about the common understanding, mutual practices, and connecting with certain U.S. and U.K. cross-border central counterparties for settlement of derivatives and what have you, right? So let's take a look here. The nature of the cooperation exhibited in these practices includes periodic engagements between staff and bank of CFTC to exchange views on relevant supervisory issues, taking into consideration of views appropriate, specific matters, concerns where they arise. The practices also include timely sharing of information, including data on the clearing services provided to market participants, notifications of material events, including those related to financial resilience, business continuity of the CCPs in accordance with the MOU that they already have for 3 years now. You know, this is what we're talking about. Service to clearing members or trading venues established in the UK. This is, and the US. This is what's happening while Gary Gensler is terrorizing the crypto space, and it has zero to do with investor protection. The way he's going about it. End goal? Maybe so. But the way he's going about it with regulation through enforcement has nothing to do with investment protection. Now let's take a look at this right here. Crypto Bull 2020 says, regardless of everything that we're seeing, the charts are saying something else. He says it looks like XRP will top anywhere between $17 and $27 by the end of September 2023. Now that would put us about 4.5 months away. If we continue to repeat the previous pattern, and here you can see what it is. Well, I can only hope that he's right. Fingers and toes are crossed here, but we don't know what's going to happen. And I'm not a financial advisor, and this is not financial advice, not from me, him, or anyone else. It's just my digital perspectives. I'll catch all of you on the next one.